Time for one of our favorite recurring segments here on Breaking Points, how terrible of a politician Kamala Harris is. So let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. This is a new feeling thermometer via NBC News in the way that Americans feel about different politicians. Kamala, in August of 2021, has the lowest feeling thermometer of any first-year vice president going back to Al Gore in 1993, with an unprecedented, very negative rating on NBC News' survey tracker. That, I think, is absolutely incredible. And you can actually see that even Al Gore had the 12% very negative feeling. Dick Cheney in June of 2001, Darth Vader Cheney himself, 11%. And this is pre-9/11, so none of the bump. Joe Biden, July 2009, was at 19%. Mike Pence was at 23%. So you remember how much people hated Mike Pence and they made all those memes around him calling his wife mother and all of that? Yeah. Now go ahead and add 13 more and we have Kamala at 36%. So she is truly one of the most hated politicians in modern American history, and especially amongst her colleagues there, among the former vice presidents. It's kind of incredible. Everyone could have predicted it. And yet it's just funny to see. It's funny to see it manifest itself into reality is what it is.
There's a lot about these ratings that are interesting / disturbing. The Kamala one, actually, I kind of like the most because it kind of makes sense to me, you know? The Biden one also kind of makes sense to me because his ratings are more or less neutral, like total positive 38%, total negative 36% is like more or less neutral. I guess Pence, in a weird way, as being more or less neutral kind of makes sense to me as well, because he was just such a bystander to the presidency. I mean, he really didn't do anything other than, you know, occasionally pop up in the news doing something weird, like calling his wife mother, which I do think is kind of creepy. Whatever, it's your choice. The one that really disturbs me here is Dick Cheney. Yeah. He had such positive ratings, plus 23%. And then on the difference between very positive and very negative, plus 15%. What? But, you know, I mean, you're probably too young to really remember this period, Saagar, but when he first was picked as vice president by George W. Bush, the thinking was like, oh, this is like a moderating influence. This is someone who actually really understands government, and he's not going to be, you know, this radical, like George W. Bush has more radical ideas. The thought was, for a lot of people who were nervous about George W. Bush, they were kind of relieved when Cheney got picked as vice president. And then, of course, like 9/11 happens and he just uses it as an excuse to implement this incredibly radical ideology of nation building around the world, obviously the consequences of which we're still living with here. But look, I mean, anyone who watched Kamala's failed presidential performance should have known that this would be the case. And this is an instance where she is 100% a media creation. I mean, the voters literally were like, we want nothing to do with this. She had to drop out before the primary. But because she'd been such a media darling and because the establishment so wanted to make her happen, she ends up as vice president of the United States. And now they're kind of hosed because they're stuck with her and they have to look at these numbers and go like, geez, I hope the old guy makes it to the next presidential run, because if Kamala ends up as the top of the ticket, we're in some big trouble here.
And that's just 2024. Look, she will be the nominee in 2028 if Biden wins re-election. I mean, then you're hosed. I really don't know what to say. I've never seen such a surefire loser on the modern American political stage. And just everybody's always crying misogyny. And look, I'm sorry. Like, that is not what is happening here. Or if it is, maybe it's a small part of the story. Plenty of women have done plenty well in many different Democratic primaries and have been elected to many Democratic offices. It's the fact that she clearly is just a very unprincipled person. This is something that goes all the way back to her political career From the very beginning, she is a chameleon and people can sense it. One of my favorite things here in DC is that stupid ass mural, which is like, excuse me, Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. And I'm like, who asked for this? Like, I actually want to know. Nobody is like yas queening around Kamala except maybe herself. That's it. Obama, I get it. You know, I get it. Absolutely. Even Hillary, it's not my thing, but, you know, I understand. There are like legit Hillary stands out there. But, you know, with her, just the level of trying to create it into this thing and running into actual public opinion, they're just never going to be able to obfuscate that. And it's a story I always love highlighting because it just shows how full of it that the media and really that these people are, that they try and force it down people's throats. And the only thing that can save you is democracy from letting these people take over.
Yeah. Well, and there's also been a trend over time, which is part of, I guess, why Dick Cheney is so popular in these very disturbing polls, is, you know, public officials have just gotten less popular over time. I mean, people are just disgusted. Yes. Republican, right. Democrat, talented, untalented, like all across the board. People are just fed up with the political class. And everything is also fed through this incredibly like tribal, partisan, sectarian lens. So you automatically know that if you're a Democrat, every Republican is going to be against you. Every Democrat is likely to be for you. And then all the action is kind of in the middle with the independents, of which there are fewer and fewer who actually are kind of unaffiliated from a partisan perspective. So that's kind of like a longer trend part of the story here as well. But, you know, even as we've been looking at the declining approval ratings of Joe Biden, and how because of the media's wildly unfair coverage of his Afghanistan withdrawal, he's taken a big hit there. And approval ratings are a little bit different than this, like, how do you feel about the person thing? But he's still doing better than Kamala, even right now when things are at their toughest for President Biden.
That's right. Well, good luck. That's all I have to say. Good luck to Kamala. I wish you the best. I hope that you run so that I can cover it here on the show.
It will be interesting to watch, and we will bring you all the latest.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut. Our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions. All that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.